I am so excited to be here today. Let me try to adjust this here. There we go. Talking to you about food and color. So color has a profound effect on us, and some of it we are aware of, such as the color of the clothes that we pick out each day to wear. Color of our home furnishings. We're aware that we are interacting with color in these instances. But a lot of color's effect on us is subconscious. It has the ability to affect the way that we feel. And I have a question for you guys. How many of you are feeling hungry right now? Raise your hand. Okay, kind of a mixed bag. We had some good snacks out there at the break. The color red, which is up on screen, has been shown in studies to actually stimulate the appetite. So I thought I'd play some mind games on you this morning with some color psychology. That was a joke. Let's see. But truly, color does affect us in these ways, and it's no coincidence that so many of the fast food brands have their branding in the color red predominantly, and yellow. Yellow attracts attention. Red makes you hungry. So when you think about it, it's perfect for fast food. These guys know what they're doing. They're trying to make you hungry. And it's the subconscious effect that I want to explore with you today. From birth, we begin to associate color with taste. So from the first time that we begin eating food, we're making these connections such as bright colors tend to taste sweet. Muted colors tend to taste savory. And we make really specific color flavor connections, such as yellow is typically banana or lemon, red is usually cherry or strawberry. And these connections are strengthened each time that we eat food, which is a lot. So if we are repeating a similar food experience, we're strengthening a connection, and when we're having a new food experience, we're creating a new connection. And our relationship with food is a unique one in that we're putting it into our bodies, so it's kind of intimate in that way. It directly affects our health and well-being. And, it's necessary to our survival. So these color-taste connections that are subconscious within us, they really run quite deep. And advertising not only reinforces these connections through the colors that are used to represent certain flavors in food, but it also creates new connections. So for example, the flavor vanilla is often represented by the color blue. Yet the vanilla bean is not blue, it's brown. But at some point, the color blue was assigned to the flavor vanilla, and it stuck. So you'll see across many brands and products that often vanilla is represented by blue. Another popular flavor combination, Parmesan garlic, is often represented by the color green. But here again, Parmesan is not green, garlic cloves are not green, but these different brands are leveraging that common color association within their own products. My favorite example is the cookies and cream flavor is almost always represented by the color dark blue because of the Oreo cookie brand. So their branding is so strong and iconic that all these other brands are leveraging that in their own packaging in their own way. And it's actually a really smart thing to do to leverage these common color associations. And I will touch on that a little bit later, but first I want to share with you a couple examples that illustrate just how powerful a link is of sight to taste. So there was a study done where people were eating in the dark. They were eating foods that they liked, but they couldn't see it that well. And the consensus was that they didn't enjoy the food as much as compared to when they could see the food. So when you think about it, before we eat food, when we see it, we're getting ready for it based on what we know, based on what we see, based on what we've experienced in the past, based on those color-taste connections within us. And we get ready for it, so we know what to expect. Sometimes we might even salivate or pucker up if it's something sour. So our sight is really pivotal to our taste in this way. There's another study done where people were drinking flavored drinks, and sometimes the color of the drink would match the flavor. So if it was a cherry drink, it would have been colored red. And other times, the flavor didn't match the color, so that cherry drink might have been colored orange. And every time that the flavor matched the color, they really had no problem identifying the flavor. They could easily identify it. But when the flavor did not match the color, they had a really hard time processing what the flavor was. They had a hard time identifying it. And not only that, but they would often assume that the flavor was the color. So they would have assumed that cherry drink colored orange was actually orange flavored. So these color taste connections that are within us are so powerful that they can even override what we are actually experiencing. Why is this important? When a consumer is shopping for food in a given category, a product has generally a 2 to 3 second window to not only capture attention and stand out from the competition, but also to get the consumer to understand what it is. Because if they don't understand what it is, they're not going to stand there and study the product to try and figure it out. You know, picture all the distractions that happen when you're shopping, so all the distractions that are just on the shelf itself. So the faster that they can understand, the more likely they are to buy the product. And when a product uses color to represent the flavor, they can easily understand what it is visually before they even begin to read the information on the package. So color helps us understand in this way. What does this mean for the future of food? Well, before I talk about the future of food, I first want to touch on the past, because when we look at where we've come from, we can better understand where we're going and why. So there's a time when processed foods first started to come on the market, and they were extremely popular. People liked the convenience. They were easy. They were big time savers. They often gave the illusion of being wholesome and healthy. Low fat was a big trigger for a long time, and these kinds of foods have had a huge popularity for a very long time. But along with that rise in these processed foods, we have also seen a rise in obesity and health issues. And we now know that so many of these processed foods are packed with long lists of ingredients, things that we can't even pronounce, might not even know what it is. Certainly not ingredients that we would use if we were preparing a similar item in our own kitchens. And frankly, consumers are fed up. They are wanting and demanding clean ingredients, healthy food, authenticity and transparency from the brands that they purchase from. And we are seeing a huge shift right now toward this demand, and more of these products coming on the market. But there's still a lot of those unhealthy processed foods, and it's really unfortunate that so many of them are targeted at children. When I'm out shopping with my kids, they'll often come up to me and say, Mommy, can we buy this? I want to try it. It's got SpongeBob on it, because SpongeBob is the symbol of health, right? And I'll look at the ingredients. I'll go straight to the ingredients, and I'll say, do you really want to be eating Mexahethal blah, blah, blah? I can't even pronounce it. And they'll be really turned off by that. And they'll ask me why did they put that in the food? And we'll have that conversation about brands that are just out there to make a quick buck at the expense of our health. And this is the reality that the next generation is growing up in. So we have the knowledge and the understanding and the awareness to look past the imagery that we see and really discern for ourselves what is good and what is not. No longer can brands put these bad ingredients in food and expect it to be a viable product. consumers are looking for brands that they can trust because for so long they were misled. And so bringing it back to color, where does color come into all this? Well, we know that color helps us understand. And, going beyond just an understanding of what the product is, as was mentioned earlier in the panel, that the brand story is so important, and that trust and that transparency, that honesty, that authenticity. So, going beyond just using color to represent the product, but color combined with the visuals and the imagery and the story to present that understanding of the brand, what the brand stands for, what are its values, how it cares about its consumers, how it makes their lives better. And creating that emotional connection and that trust through imagery is so incredibly powerful. And so we know that color has a powerful effect on us. We know that we have these color-taste connections that run very deep within us. We know that color helps us understand. We know that consumers are looking for meaningful connections and trust and authenticity from the brands that they buy from. So if you're a food brand owner out there, or anyone involved in the marketing side of food, how can you make color more of a strategic partner in your brand? Leveraging color and imagery, to facilitate that understanding and trust, the values that you stand for. Because first impressions really are everything in that 2 to 3 second window, but it's got to be authentic. Because if it's not, consumers are going to see right past that facade. And on the consumer side of things, pay attention to what you're seeing out there. Pay attention to what brands are saying visually. What are they saying with their words? And what are they really saying? Do they really back it up? Does the product really, fulfill what they're representing? Because looks can be deceiving, and that will probably never change. But when there is that authentic connection between a brand and its consumer audience, that is a win-win situation, and that is so incredibly powerful. And that is what we are looking for more of going forward. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take some questions now, and for any questions that aren't answered during the Q&A, feel free to find me throughout the conference. I'd be happy to talk more.
Thank you, Jen. That was awesome. Okay. No new questions. Oh, one. Did you hear that?
I did.
Okay, so is there research on natural colors and patterns of human behavior?
Oh, that's a little bit deeper than I would know about. I'm really not involved in the psychology part of color so much as the marketing side of color. So, that's not really something I'd be qualified to answer. But I will say that in terms of sort of colors that are used to represent, something that's natural. When natural foods first started to, become more popular on the market, we would see so many of those, browns and greens to represent nature. Craft natural textures and that kind of stuff. And really that sort of became a look for a very long time that a lot of brands adopted. Again, kind of, brands leveraging existing identity out there, repurposing it in their own way. Not that you'd ever want to copy what another brand is doing, but it's leveraging sort of that common, a connection, that visual cue to give that understanding visually. So, but now, now that natural foods are becoming so much more popular and we're seeing them so much more in the commercial marketplace and not just in specialty food stores. Many brands have gone beyond that now, so it's really no longer necessary to have that sort of traditional natural look for a natural product. Though many still do, and it can work, but there are many more out there that are sort of taking it in their own direction, a fresh and new way, or even just a modern type of design that might not have any of that sort of traditional natural look to it.
Great. Thank you so much.